So far, Cerydra seems pretty interesting and not in a good way. Right now, as I'm making this video, Cerydra's kit is in a very interesting spot as she is doing some stuff that does seem really good, but at the same time seeming really bad because of the way it does work. As of right now, Cerydra is a hybrid focused support buffer, but also a DPS at the same time. The biggest problem with this split is seeming like they did want to go with a route like they did with Tribi, who was able to add up to pretty consistent damage over time throughout the battle. But for Cerydra, it seems like they focused a lot more on the DPS side, and the drawback to that was the fact that she still did not end up doing any damage that was significant enough. And it doesn't matter because one of her strongest partners was Finon, and Finon departs the entire team, so she can't even attack anyways. But I'll get a little more on that later. The primary focus of buff Cerydra does have is buffing a character's crit damage for the skill, and also being able to buff their attack. She also does have a speed buff included in one of her bonus traces, so that's an extra bonus you could have for building. But the main thing is, the whole way you did want to function it is eventually once you do reach 6 points of charge, you do upgrade the state that she does provide, which will also now allow the DPS you did choose to buff to get a second instance of their skill for free. So once that state was active, you use skill once and you're going to get a free instance of it at the same exact value, so it's going to be a direct copy of it, meaning you can get double the output. While this was really good, at the same time, it really just is a glorified action advance that's actually just worse. So, not even glorified. It does enable for some cool setups with Anaxa specifically, because Anaxa can now get up to 4 skills with this. But at the same time, Anaxa already has better options, but again, I will talk about this a bit later. So, Cerydra's buffs are relatively saturated buffs already. Again, crit damage, being able to buff a bit of skill damage, but not by that much. Having the attack percent bonus, which we already have good supports for all these roles already. The main unique points that she does have is the speed buff and also the fact that she can have the extra clone skill. As I already mentioned, half her kit, or like around 40% of it, is focused around being a DPS at the same time, but she fails to really do that much significant damage. So even if you're not using her with someone like Finon, the damage you do get overall isn't really that worth it. Which is why it's a big just kit flaw. They tried to recreate Tribi with how she does work as a sub DPS at the same time. Which you could also argue if you are using someone like Tribi with Finon, you also lose access to her sub DPS capabilities, but you still have it before battle where it still does add up relatively quickly. But yeah, unless you have multiple AoE buffers on the team alongside Cerydra and your main DPS, Cerydra herself is going to do very, very little to next to no damage at all. Like the extra 100k you can get out of her is not really going to be something you notice. Another fact is that she is a Harmony, so she is competing with one of the most competitive roles in the game. Because as of right now, she is competing with Tribi, Sunday, Robin, Ruanmei, and also technically someone like Sparkle. As I mentioned, her actual extra skill is a more of a glorified, well not even glorified, just a worse action advance because it really just is. Because with a -1 setup with someone like Sunday, you can have the person's skill, then it's Sunday's turn, and then he can give them another turn and then do it again, so it's effectively the same thing but better buffs. And on the flip side, you have someone like Robin who's able to give everyone on the team another turn, which does synergize well with action advances you already have on the team. So Sunday can get another turn, your DPS can get another turn, so you can effectively get up to 6+ actions with Robin setups. And also, that's not even accounting for the speed manipulation you can do with Robin to get an extra turn. On top of that, Robin's buffs are purely AoE and still just overall better than Cerydra's. So when it comes to the attack percent buffing portion of her kit, she does just get beaten out by someone like Robin, who also does apply the attack to everyone rather than just the DPS themselves. Other action advances like Sparkle and Bronya also do have a form of AoE buffs. And the thing with Tribi is Tribi provides rare buffs and other debuffer circumstances, such as her skill providing all-type rest pen and then her ultimate zone making enemies take more damage. Cerydra just provides generic stuff that's already provided by a bunch of supports, like you can get a good attack buff from even someone like Tig-Yun. You can get crit damage very, very easily because we have access to Sunday, who's one of the most broken characters in the game right now, Sparkle, who got a big research thanks to Archer, and Bronya, who's always just been overall good. The buffs that Cerydra does provide are very oversaturated buffs and are just really easy to come by, where she is competing with a already super competitive slot where everyone kind of just does her job but better. On top of that, the other characters such as Sunday, Tribi, Robin, and so on have more synergy with more characters than Cerydra. So not only are they a better kit in general, they're also at the same time more universal and even beating her out at her own skill damage niche. Because the whole thing is you want to use Cerydra with these characters that do skill. So that's also another bad thing. Specific Cerydra synergies is not really that much either. She really only works super well with 2 characters, that being Finon primarily and also Anaxa. Obviously, first talking about Finon because that is the biggest buffer, because mainly talking about the charge procs that you can get with Finon when Finon does transform. since when he's transformed, he departs everyone and they can no longer have a buff. And Cerydra also does have a bonus buff to when she is departed, so this only really works with Finon or if you're fighting the Hule boss. Where she becomes departed, the person you do have the skill buff on gets an all-type res pen increase, which is good for Finon since that's only like the rare buffs that he doesn't have. She does become overall one of the best partners for Finon, but the gap is super little to the point it's not even worth it. And we know what happens when it comes to pulling a character that's specifically only good with one character, that being like someone like Xiaochu with Akron, where he was only really best with her and then also ended up not really being good anywhere else. Like, he had other slots where he can work universally, but not really that much. But at least with Xiaochu, he did go on other slots pretty well. When it comes to Cerydra, she really doesn't. She really only just has these two characters. There's also some setups with Archer and stuff, but it just does not work out that well. But yeah, with the buffs she does provide to Finon, it's mainly for the fact that she can clone the meteor, which is a good DPS upgrade. The problem is she is made for him, but she already provides buffs that he's oversaturated in. They wanted to make a signature buffer. Like, the whole idea of her was supposed to be good with Finon. Problem is, half her kit is loaded into a DPS kit that you wouldn't even see majority of the time with Finon since you're in Ultimate with Finon. So that's just a big wasted part that should have just went into being more of a supportive role. And at the same time, her buffs are very oversaturated. That Finon already does have buffs of crit damage and attack percent in his own kit. He already has his best other supports providing it. Finon can actually work really well with AoE buffers as long as you get ult quick enough. So she's also not really helping him much, even though the whole niche was still supposed to be the best teammate for him, which again, she still kind of is, but it's really not by that much. As long as you can get ult pretty quick in a timely manner, you really won't see a big upgrade with Cerydra. And again, it's especially the fact that Cerydra only really works with him plus one other. So it's not even the case where it's like Xiaochu with Akron, because Xiaochu, even though he wasn't the best, you can work with him with a lot of places. With Cerydra, you can only use them with these two. You can kind of use her with Archer, but it's still really just not that good. And that kind of really is it. If someone uses basic attack for their damage, they don't really work that well because Cerydra has been the skill buffer. So anyone that doesn't do their damage off skill, if their main damage comes off ultimate or their basic attack, enhanced basic attack, or whatever, they lose out on all synergy. But yes, the next character would be Anaxa. So Anaxa also got a more buff from her because of the way she did work, and also buffing attack percent since Anaxa is pretty attack deprived. Her crit damage buff is also pretty oversaturated on Anaxa since he already gives himself a bunch if you are running him as a hyper carry with no other erudition character. So crit damage was not really the actual focus. The attack percent was the main focus. The extra speed you can get also does help. Problem is, on his teams for hyper carry, you already get someone like Robin, and the difference between running Cerydra and Robin is very minimal. And the best part is, if you pulled E1 Cerydra versus E1 Robin, Robin becomes better. Especially since Cerydra access to defense ignore is locked behind her E1, which does make her a better option for someone like Finon still. But for someone like Anaxa, who already very easily caps on shred plus ignore, it's really not something you're going to notice that much. That's why alt-type rest pen is a lot better on him. Attack percent buffs are technically better on him too, so that's why someone like Robin, whose E1 also does provide alt-type rest pen, does end up making her outperform Cerydra. And you may ask, what about the extra skill? Because Anaxa can get up to 4 skills with the Cerydra proc. Well, Robin can also action advance the entire team to give a setup where you have Anaxa skill twice, Sunday, Anaxa skill twice, Robin, Anaxa skill twice, Sunday, Anaxa skill twice. So that synergy is going to very much outmatch Cerydra's performance. You may also ask, what about throughout the battle, since Robin can only do it once? With the proper Anaxa setup, you really won't be able to get to that point where it really would outperform it anyways, because again, it really is just a glorified action advance that is just worse. So even for someone like Anaxa, it really just does not end up working out as well. Another additive problem to the previous point was the fact that this buff, where you do get the duplicate skill and the upgraded state, which provides even more buffs by a little bit, is only when she is at 6 charges. It is for that duplicate, and then you lose that extra amount. Once you do actually get up to the 6 charges that Cerydra does have, and you have the additional skill available to you, that's when you get that upgraded state, and that's where you get the extra buffs, such as the crit damage and stuff. So a lot of her kit is actually locked behind that. Such as the upgraded state is going to be the one where you get the extra crit damage, which is just stupid because again, you have to build up to it every time just to get it. So when you do first start with the meteor and you get the double meteor with Finon, that's when you'll have it. For the rest of it, you won't have it until you do play properly and get another meteor where you get the duplicate. That's when you'll have it again. You won't get it for any enhanced counter. You won't get it for anything else. It doesn't work on enhanced basic attack because the enhanced basic attack is a basic attack. And then it also applies to someone like Anaxa. Again, you only have it when the upgraded state. For the rest, it's just going to be a speed buff and the attack percent buff. That's really it. So not only is the buffs kind of whatever, the way she works is kind of whatever, the kit design is kind of whatever. It's also the fact that her biggest buffs are locked behind having 6 charges, which can be cringe for everyone that really isn't a Noxa to get to. Noxa gets to it fast because, again, the double skill stuff. Final can get to it relatively quickly as well, but that's really it. The whole point I'm trying to get at is where she is focusing on the niche with skill damage dealers and these characters specifically. She is very slightly ending up beating the current characters that have infinitely better value for anyone's account. Like, again, you'll benefit a lot more from pulling Tribi E1, Robin. You'll benefit from pulling Sunday way more than you would from Cerydra. So even though her whole niche was, potentially being the best at this niche, she has a lot of internal problems. And the biggest thing is she doesn't actually even end up beating out the characters that are just better for anyone's account because they work everywhere. Which is why I do think Cerydra and her state right now is really bad, and I don't really consider her a character that really anyone should really bother with. Just because there's so much value with other supports right now, especially with how good they are. Cerydra really just is not working out to be too great. Like, again, the Finon upgrade that you'll get isn't going to be so much that is worth potentially 1 to 2 pities. For a Noxa, you literally just have better options. Like, again, running Robin is going to be super little of a difference. And if you have E1 on both, then Robin just becomes better. So even at that niche, she's very much competing at a very thin line. To the point where she does get beaten out with a lot of setups at the same time. There are certain setups where you can get Finon to do more damage without Cerydra, same thing with the Noxa. So even in these niches, she does end up getting beaten out pretty well. So even in her niche, she does end up getting beaten out in a lot of scenarios. And that does wrap up the video. That is why I do think Cerydra is in a very bad state. I myself do hope that she does get changes. As I am uploading this, V4 did not happen too long ago and she got nothing, so I am thinking it's going to be very grim. Love her design. It'd be absolutely wasteful to have such a good design on someone that really just isn't that good. But let me know what you guys think as well. Do you guys also think Cerydra is just not really going to be that great? If you guys find this video helpful or enjoyable in any way, shape, or form, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for future videos like this, along with all the types of Star Wars content, and I'll see you later. Peace out.